Hello, everybody, and welcome in for another episode of Beyond the Orange. I'm your host, Austin Price. Beyond the Orange brought to you by the great people at Knoxville Smiles. Tonight on the show, we have Tennessee Director of Football Sports Performance, Derek Owings. Coach Owings, when you look at being in the national championship game at Indiana, and you're watching that game, and it's tight in the fourth quarter and back and forth, and you know in a matter of hours you're leaving to get on a plane bound for Knoxville to Tennessee. What were those moments like?
Yeah, I mean, to me, everything was about those kids in that moment. I mean, we built, man, it was a special group of young men, special group of coaches. You know, I was really, really close with a lot of the kids that are still there, but also the kids that graduated. So to be honest with you, man, there was no thought about Tennessee in those moments. It was all about, we've worked to this point. We've grinded to this point, man. Everybody has put their all in to this last, let's say, 5, 10, 15 minutes on the clock. And I had just unlimited belief in our guys that they were going to get it done, man. They showed it all year, just the resilience, the work, the strain. And I knew when the ball was in Fernando's hand, he was going to go out there and make a play. So for me, I knew when the time to come he was going to come, but I wanted to be in the moment with those guys because that's what they deserved.
What was it like after the game? Because I've been a part of those postseason celebrations, and it's pictures with your entire strength staff, pictures with the players, all those moments. What was that like?
Man, it was special and it was surreal. I think we always had the expectation we took the job. I think, if you don't believe you can win every single game, then you're not in the right profession. But to sit there and really be like, okay, after 2 years at Indiana, we're sitting here 16-0 in national championships. We're on top of the mountain. It was really surreal to feel, and you look around at some of your, close assistants, some of the players, there was multiple guys on that team that I had 4, 5, 6 years with dating back to JMU, and they're just 0-star FCS recruits to being, all conference type players. And, just the work you put in over the years to help get them to where they want to be ultimately. And it was special, man. It was a feeling that, you couldn't describe. You see your family after the game, and there's just joy, excitement, tears, and it's, I haven't had a ton of time to reflect on it because you kind of just hit the ground running, but in that moment, it was something that you crave to have again, and I think some people either get fat and happy or you crave that moment again. And to me, every single day, it's like, how do we get back to that point here?
You're doing snow angels and the confetti, not literally, but everybody else was. And then 10 hours, 11 hours later, you are literally standing in front of a new team. What was that turnaround like?
Oh, it was interesting. We probably didn't leave Hard Rock till after 2 a.m. They have an after party set up for players and families, pizza, things you typically don't give, at least typically things I don't give our student athletes, root beer floats and sodas and sliders and all the things that we were not allowing them to eat along the championship run. And, you're at that point, it's okay, Coach Sig known and some of the assistants known and my staff knew what I was taking Tennessee. So I wanted to make sure I grabbed as many players as I could and just thank them. Everything we do is for them at the end of the day. We have jobs because of the student athletes. So it was really important to me that I could say bye to as many as possible, especially the ones I spent a lot of time with. And ultimately, we were down the after party probably till after 5 a.m. And I looked at my wife and I said, I got to get up at 7:30. So we probably should go back and try to get a couple hours of sleep before.
So you did actually get some sleep?
Yeah, I probably got 2 hours, and I got up, showered, went down, and Coach Huff and Coach Miller that were coming with me, we Ubered to Miami Private Airport, and here we go, wheels up, and you're sitting in front of a team. And I think there was ultimately, man, there was so much excitement to be at a place like Tennessee, a blue blood, a logo that you look at that everybody in the country knows what it is, and it resonates with everybody. And to me, that's why it's you hit the ground running and you're still got a ton of energy because you're just so excited to be here and get this place to where it should be.
The number of players that have said to me, man, he's kicking our butt, but we needed this. Mm-hmm. When you hear that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, training has to be what training, there has to be demands on training to get to where you want to go. Now, there's always a scientific approach to that. And I've told the players, man, we haven't even scratched the surface of what training will be from an intensity standpoint, from a volume standpoint. We've just got to get these guys in a better training state where they can handle lifting and the running where it should be, and I think we're getting better week by week, but, we need to have another good 2.5 weeks, get into spring break, 4 weeks of spring ball. It's critical that we keep lifting heavy and get these guys strong, and then, the 4 weeks post spring ball and then like the 8-week summer, it's critical that we keep building, because I still think we're a long way from where we need to be from a training intensity standpoint. So it's been tough, but it's gonna crank up here even more.
You're big into relationships. How do you establish them so fast here? And how do you and your not just you, but your staff intermingle into that?
Yeah, I think it's critical. I think you got to hire really good human beings, that are doing this for the right reasons. And I think you got to just immerse yourself with the student athlete and be around them. Whether it's meals, whether it's in the training room, whether it's in the player lounge playing ping pong, pool, bowling, whatever it is, you got to be organic, and you got to find time to seek those guys out and grab them as they're walking by your office. If they're grabbing shakes, they're getting some out of the fueling station. And, it was a big thing for hype for me that it was, we need to fix the nutrition. It wasn't bad, but we wanted to improve Smokies to where it should be from a performance dining hall. And I said, my staff needs to be around those guys all the time, lunch, dinner. We got to shorten the windows to get these guys around each other. We have 50 new players in here. You have a ton of new staff. We got to make sure that these guys are sitting down, talking, breaking bread with each other so they can actually get to know each other on a more personal level.
We'll talk about that staff and how Coach Heupel let him mold it the way he sees fit when we come back on Beyond the Orange.
Matlock Tire Service and Auto Repair is proud to be celebrating 70 years of serving East Tennessee. That's 70 years of old school customer service, trustworthy auto repair, and of course, great deals on tires. Each one of our 5 convenient East Tennessee locations feature family-friendly waiting areas, and you can schedule appointments and search for tires right on our website at matlocktireservice.com. Modern convenience, hometown values. For 70 years and counting, Matlock Tire Service and Auto Repair.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super Savings is here. Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance during our Super Summer Sales event.
And don't forget about back-to-school service savings on mobile, pickup, and delivery.
Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location.
What's the number one home improvement project you can do for your house? Install an Aqua Clear water system. If you see one of our blue and green trucks coming down the road, we're on our way to help another Tennessee family get better water. You owe it to yourself and your family to find out why 18,000 Tennessee homeowners have made the switch to Aqua Clear water systems. For your free water test and estimate, scan the QR code on the screen. We'll change your water. It'll change your life.
Hi, I'm Matt Marshall with Exterior Home Solutions.
Hi, I'm Dustin Woodson, also with Exterior Home Solutions.
We are now easier than ever to find, right off of I-75 and Merchants Road.
It's a new location, but the same trusted expertise in roofing and siding that you've come to trust over the past 25 years.
Local quality craftsmanship, licensed and insured.
For the best and most trusted name in roofing and siding, scan the QR code on your screen.
Exterior Home Solutions, when it has to be the best.
Beyond the Orange is brought to you by the great people at Knoxville Smiles. I know that your staff makes you smile. So when you look at what Coach Heupel did in terms of allowing you to go out and hire a nutritionist who will work specifically under you, to hire all new strength, assistants, how big was that to be able to just kind of mold it yourself?
Yeah, I think it was a huge reason, of why I ultimately came here. I was at a great situation. We obviously just won a national championship, but it was one of those deals, I've always believed in Coach Hype dating back to when I worked for him at UCF. And he was a guy that I always thought at some point I would work for again. And I knew if we could come in and do what we need to do from a strength and conditioning and nutrition, sports science standpoint, from a schematic standpoint, him and Coach Knowles, we'd be able to win a lot of games. And ultimately, when, we first had the conversation about me coming here, the biggest thing I said is everything needs to fit together like a puzzle. I don't want to work in silos. It needs to be, what is athletic training doing? Are we on the same page? I said nutrition needs to report to me, sports science, and all these things need to work together so we're all speaking the same message. I think the biggest thing for student athletes do them a disservice is, you have one group saying this, one group saying that, one group saying that, and you give the players an out to be like, well, this coach said that, or this coach said that. But if you're all speaking the same message and holding the kids' feet to the fire, then there is no outs and there's no cracks in the foundation. And to me, that was really, really big, and it was a non-negotiable. You know, for me, if I was going to leave where I was coming from, it was the staff needs to look like this and go like this, and it was, yeah, let's do it, let's go win.
My favorite part was like 3 of the guys arrived like the week before, right? So like they're in the building and everybody's like,
that was
who's coming with them?
That was tough. You know, I mean, it was one of those deals where, you know, it was kind of a, you know, the process, you know, was a little bit extended, but ultimately we got to a point where, you know, it's tough. I mean, with just the current calendar of college football,
Sure.
you know, you're trying to do right by Indiana, but you're trying to, you know, Tennessee's got to do what's right for Tennessee, you know, so you ultimately got to make a decision. You know, and it was one of those deals where, hey, the timing was what it was, but it was the best decision. And, you know, you got to get your staff there to kind of figure out, okay, what do we got? You got to start knocking this out, doing this, because when I get there, we're going to have less than 24 hours and we're starting workout 1. So I had to kind of get some boots on the ground, and Hype did a really, really good job, man. Everybody at Tennessee, I give them a lot of credit, you know, keeping this thing under the wraps. You know, I was really worried about getting it out before we played, and that was truthfully, like, that was going to be a huge turnoff for me, because ultimately it's never about me and it's never about the coaching staff. It's always going to be about the players, and I didn't want it to take away from what our student athletes did, because it wasn't about me leaving for Tennessee. It was about us trying to go win a national championship.
Sure.
So I was really, really happy that it kind of stayed under wraps until the next day, because even after the game, I was getting blown up, and I just told guys, I said, listen, man, that would be totally wrong to take away from these players right now for what they worked for, to try to say, hey, I'm leaving 30 minutes after the game's done. Like, that's not what it's about right now. It's about these guys and just embracing each other in this moment that we just had.
Let's take everybody, kind of peel back the curtain a little bit. You and Coach Happel have talked periodically since you worked for him back at UCF. Mm-hmm. You got courted by USC and a few other schools, and you always kind of leaned on him for advice. When did you realize, hey, Tennessee may be an option for us to kind of reconnect?
You know, I mean, at the end of the day, when you have success on the football field, you know, people always want to take a piece of that success. So, like, I've always, you know, when USC came in and, you know, made it really hard on me to make a decision, the reason why I stayed was because of the players and because of the timing. You know, you're sitting there, it's May, you know, you just put in 4 months with those guys and you feel like they're your guys. I mean, like, this is this year's team. And ultimately, and I, you know, a couple of the guys I was really close with said, you know, Coach, why did you stay? And I said, because, man, you guys deserved better for this time of year. And ultimately, I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for you guys and the on-field success we've had. And that goes down from the coordinators, head coach, players, the whole deal. But every time I had, you know, tough calls with different, you know, schools coming to call, I mean, I leaned on Coach Hype because he was a guy that was, you know, been through it, the experience, and I felt like he had no stake in the game. You know, you got there's agents, you know, your current head coach, the head coach that's calling you, they're all trying to give you the advice based on what's going to help them the most. And I felt like, who was a third party, you know, coach or someone I trusted that could give me real advice and help me in a situation. And I just thought, you know, Hype was always, man, he was a really genuine, organic dude. And I always thought he was a high level human being and a high level football coach. And, you know, when I heard that this could be happening and things, you know, could be happening, I think, you know, Hype did a really good job respecting the last staff, you know, a guy that got a lot of respect for where I worked for, you know, but when the time came, you know, he reached out to me, and it was, man, I've always kind of wanted to be at this school and this logo and work for Coach and try to win a national championship. So once it came through and it was going to be everything that I could have hoped for, man, it was a no-brainer. And really, there was nothing that could have happened to keep me from coming here.
You talk about the logo. You're a Michigan kid who went and played football at Mercer.
Yeah.
Met your wife down there. She was a softball player.
Yep.
What did you know about Tennessee football, though? I mean, from a strength staff, did you understand the John Stuckey and all that lineage? Yeah,
I mean, I think, you know, SEC, man, it just means more. You know, I think you especially when I was growing up, man, SEC was it. I mean, you look at, like, you know, the offense and defensive lines and the physicality of the game, the speed of the game. You know, I think during my time, the 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
Sure.
I mean, the SEC was dominant. And I always really enjoyed watching the SEC. And I played really high level baseball growing up, so you play in Orlando a lot, and coming from Michigan, you're down 75, so we stopped in Gatlinburg almost every year. My parents still go there all the time when they drive up from, Florida to Michigan. So this part of the country I always knew was beautiful. So I think it always kind of made me be drawn to Tennessee and Rocky Top and all the things, you watch the, Checker Neyland, and you watch a game on TV and just how good of a production they do. You watch it and you can't be, man, like that's special. That's a special place. It was always I was always drawn to it.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Gallenberg. We're going to go down that rabbit hole, see what he can tell us about Sevier County.
Brought to you by Food City. It's the Ask Coach Heupel Show.
Hello, and welcome to Ask Coach Heupel. I'm your host, Josh Heupel. Jim asks, Coach Heupel, got any tailgating tips? Boy, do I. Jim, did you know Food City's gourmet burgers are handmade in-store by a certified butcher? Saturday's almost here. Are you game day ready? This has been Ask Coach Heupel. With me, Coach Heupel.
And action our new box.
Attention drives connection. Tell your story well. GoPopFizz.com/vol.
I'm Tennessee basketball player JP Estrella. Let me give you a tour here of the offices at Knoxville Smiles. Dr. Costa is placing implants with a robot, and it's all done digitally. There's no guessing with this since it's all robotic. Dr. Wilco is the newest addition to the office. He loves to research the latest and greatest in technology, so the other doctors go to him for the newest product information and techniques. Dr. Malone is building teeth in the mouth. To him, cosmetic bonding is more like artwork. He does this without cutting your teeth down. It's all about building them up. Guys, we still have a problem. Do y'all have a bigger chair?
The Volunteer Club is your all-access pass to the heartbeat of Tennessee athletics. Ride the orange wave to private events, limited edition merchandise, gifts, and more featuring your favorite UT athletes. Fuel the tradition, celebrate the wins, and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Volunteer family. The Volunteer Club is the home of the most passionate volume fans. Join us today.
I was coming home and a lady hit me head on. It totaled my car, it fractured my right heel, and it bruised me up really badly. The Garza Law Firm, they were very compassionate, but yet they were very detailed. They didn't let me down. They never stopped fighting. It helped me regain confidence in law firms. I would definitely recommend the Garza Law Firm.
The Garza Law Firm.
Everybody ready?
Attention drives connection. Tell your story well. GoPopFizz.com/vol.
One of our proud presenting sponsors is Garza Law. Their motto, let us help. What helped you out the most as you went through this journey? Whether it be as a strength coach, a man, like what's been the biggest aid to you getting to where you're at?
Man, I've always been a really, really competitive type A person. I think when I want something, I'm going to do everything I can to go get it. There's two things that drive people, either the fear of failure or the fear or success. And to me, the fear of failure always drove me more than anything else. I always thought, if someone was better than me, the embarrassment of, hey, losing, and someone thinking they're better than me or having more success than me, whether it's wins and losses, whether it's, whatever it may be. So the fear of failure always drove me to be the best I could every single day. I think you're around, to me, you're the average, the 5 people you're around the most. And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of really good people and a lot of really good coaches that you worked hand in hand with over the last 10 years. And it molds you to be someone that, man, every single day you got to be competitive. You're either getting better or you're getting worse every single day. And to me, if you can attack work every single day and get the most out of, whether it's a lift, a recovery session, a meal, a treatment session. You really can stack those up and get to a point where, like, man, you made a ton of progress, whether it's coaching, whether it's relationships, whether it's knowledge, all that stuff. So ultimately it's not trying to waste a day and get the most out of every single opportunity because of the fear of someone doing more than you and being better than you.
All right, before the break, we teased our trip through Sevier County. What memories do you have of going to Gatlinburg and Sevierville growing up?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the water park,
Splash Country.
Yeah, Splash Country. That was always, you're a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kid. I mean, that's what you wanted to do. I mean, you didn't care about the restaurants. You didn't care about that stuff. As long as you had pizza and a water park, that's all that mattered, But taking the ski lift in the summertime, up and down and just, everything, seeing the pictures and the bears and kind of that country. And it was always a really good time. But to me, it was always the water park.
Let's dive back into the strength stuff. Like, what can Tennessee fans expect from the kids, from the team? Like, what are you trying to instill from a weight gain, muscle mass, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think with good sound training, like putting muscle mass on guys, getting guys faster, making them more robust, like those to me are the easy things, just with proper training and just being diligent day in and day out. I think where we are going to make the biggest strides, I think, is just the competitiveness on a day in, day out basis, the physicality, the relentlessness. Every single play needs to matter, and you got to try to win your one-on-one battle every single play. And not being okay with losing your one-on-one. It's just a competitive spirit, play in and play out of, I'm going to kick the guy across from me's ass every single play.
Where does the intensity come from? I've watched the videos. I mean, have you kind of always been that way? I mean, do you know how to, like, we had Coach Knowles on, right? And he talks about, like, being able to morph, and not be the same in every situation. Do you find yourself being able to do that, or are you pretty much the same dude every day?
Yeah, I mean, I am the same dude from I want what I want executed every single day. I think how you deliver it needs to change. At the end of the day, we're teachers. So, I think sometimes some kids need some sugar and sometimes they need some salt. It kind of depends on how the day's going, the personality of the kids, the relationships you have with kids. You got to know some kids you can, grind a little harder. You can get after them a little bit more because that's what they need. Some kids that just today's day and age are a little more sensitive, so you got to give them a little bit more sugar or else, they're going to shut down. So, ultimately, the standpoint of how I want it to look and the expectations are never going to change, but how I deliver the message will change based on the human being, the day, all of it.
How do you determine that? Because you talk about, like, knowing who to push and who not to push and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But how do you have a kid go, well, you don't push him the same way you push me?
Yeah. Man, I think it's just, you keep leaning on the same thing, but in men's relationships, you got to really know the kids. You know, I mean, you got to know what they're about, what motivates them, what is their end goal. I mean, there's some of these kids that truthfully, they just want a college degree. Hey, I want to come here, I want to play at Tennessee, and, if I'm a 10, 15 to snap game guy, like, that's okay, and I'll go get a degree and I'll go on my life. And some of these kids, well, I want to be a top 5 pick. Okay, you told me you're going to be a top 5 pick. Well, you're not working like a top 5 pick. So that's what you told me. You told me that's what you want, so it's my job to hold your feet to the fire and get you there. If not, I'm doing you a disservice and I shouldn't be here. And ultimately, it's you got to know those things about the kids so you can really, really push them.
And when we come back, we'll talk more about Smokies and the diet and all that next on Beyond the Orange.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance during our Super Summer Sales event.
And don't forget about back-to-school service savings on mobile, pickup, and delivery.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location.
To pay for stuff, spending.
I do not know.
Babe, candy. Spend me. Use me to buy stuff.
It's never too early to learn more about personal finance. At Hearthside Bank, we work closely with our community to help meet your goals and achieve your financial dreams. Hearthside Bank, always within reach. Member FDIC.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us.
Brought to you by Food City. It's the Ask Coach Heupel Show.
Hello, and welcome to Ask Coach Heupel. I'm your host, Josh Heupel. Glenn asks, Coach, how does one join the Vol Navy? It's a great question. Well, Glenn, you don't necessarily need a boat. You need a friend with a boat. Always arrive with beef, fresh cut by a Food City butcher, and you'll be welcomed aboard. This has been Ask Coach Heupel. With me, Coach Heupel.
This week's Food City Flashback takes us back to former Tennessee strength coach Johnny Long. He was that towel-waving guy who you always saw on Saturdays. We love Johnny, and we wish him all the best. You look at Smokies, you talked about that earlier in the show. When you talk about getting the right kind of food in, what do you mean? Like for the fans that just are like don't understand, take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at, okay, what is a big reason why I chose here is from the resources standpoint, from nutrition. I mean, what we feed our student athletes is mind-blowing, and I've been at some good places and we've had a lot of success, but the amount, the quality, the volume we feed these guys, man, it's awesome. So when you look at, okay, how are we trying to fuel these guys? We want to be as minimally processed whole foods. So you're talking, any type of lean beefs, chicken, fishes, wild caught. I always tell our guys if it ran, jump, or swam and it's not fried, go ahead and eat it. Vegetables, obviously trying to get as much colorful foods in as we can on a daily basis. We're going to supplement at an elite level, but we want to make sure we're getting whole foods in. And the biggest thing is the quality of carbohydrates. Too many guys are eating, French fries, Skittles, candies, full sugar Gatorades. The amount of sugar and the quality of carbohydrates have to be manipulated in the right direction to get these guys as lean and powerful as possible.
So is that simple, going from Gatorade to G2s or,
Yeah, so the first thing I did when I got here, I got with the athletic training staff and Katie, and I said, listen, we're going to get out of this team meeting here in about 30 minutes. I don't want to see a full sugar Gatorade inside this building. We're going all Gatorade Zero. And it was the same thing I did day one in Indiana. You can cut out, body fat quick. I mean, those guys, you sit there and drink, you drink 2-3 full sugar Gatorades in a day, that's 100 plus grams of sugar. Just that. And if you start drinking your sugars, you're never going to be a lean athlete. So that was like first thing I did. I was on campus for 2 minutes. When it's chocolate milk. Like people, you talk about chocolate milk and recovery and all those deals, but most of chocolate milk's got 50 grams of sugar. Well, we can get a much, much higher quality protein recovery drink in than chocolate milk.
What do you hope to see out of this team in spring ball, knowing you've had them for a month and a half? I know that's not a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the hard part.
Is the summertime probably more the bigger deal for you at this point?
I mean, it's all. I mean, I think, when you're taking over a program, you feel like, and our room has a long way to go. It's, it never stops. Like, I mean, I told Coach Hype, man, like spring ball, we got to get football in because we're here to play football, but we have to keep lifting at a high level. I mean, we've got a long way to go from a strength standpoint, a speed standpoint to get to where I think we should be to be a national championship team. I think we got the skill set and the genetic potential, but we just got to get them there. In the first 2 weeks, you're kind of just trying to, set the foundation, build your non-negotiables with the players. So you get 5 real weeks of training before you get into spring break, and then they get a week off and you got to make sure they're living right, doing right, because you're coming back Monday morning and practicing, and these kids are still 18 to 22-year-olds, so
who want their Skittles
and they want their vacation,
Sure.
So it's one of those deals where you got to make sure that, you're letting them breathe, but you got to make sure you're checking in with them to, that they're doing what they need to be ready to go day one, that Monday morning. But ultimately in spring ball, we got to make sure we're with Coach knows a scheme and the the amount of transfers in high school guys we have that we're teaching it enough, but we can't take a step back from a physical standpoint. And, then you got to really push and strain those 4 weeks. And yeah, the summertime's critical, but I mean, it's all critical right now to get these guys to where we want to go. You just really start looking at, okay, true adaptations. Muscles respond faster, but like tendons, ligaments, I mean, those take months before you can really, really create adaptations that you want from a violent sport like football. So, key is get out of spring ball as healthy as we can so we can keep training and getting these guys to be as robust as we can come game day.
Coach, we appreciate you going beyond the orange.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.